The new film by Yorgos Lanthimos Bugonia has just been released in theatres, and it's quite the insane experience. It's a strange, darkly funny and deeply thought-provoking film that blurs the lines between reality and absurdity. It tells the story of two men who kidnap a powerful corporate executive because they believe she is an alien disguised as a human. What unfolds is not just a tense hostage drama, but a philosophical and psychological battle about truth, control, and the meaning of humanity. The movie carries Lanthimos' signature blend of dry humour, unsettling tension, and sharp social critique. And beneath its weirdness, it explores big questions about power, belief, and the ways people justify their own versions of the truth. It's the kind of movie that lingers long after the credits roll, making you laugh, squirm, and think about how strange human behaviour can be when fear and faith collide. So in this explained analysis, I'm going to be giving you my breakdown of Bugonia, discussing full plot details, the ending, and the central meaning of the film. There will be spoilers in this video, so if you haven't watched the film yet, then I would recommend checking it out before watching my analysis. Before I get into it though, if you want to see more on upcoming releases like Bugonia, then don't forget to support this upload by giving it a like, rating, and subscribing to the channel. But without further ado, let's dive into my breakdown for Yorgos Lanthimos' Bugonia. So the new movie Bugonia is based on the 2003 South Korean film named Save the Green Planet, a cult classic known for blending genres like dark comedy, sci-fi, thriller, and tragedy into an unpredictable story. Both films share the same core premise, a conspiracy-obsessed man kidnapping a corporate executive convinced she's an alien sent to destroy humanity. But the new Bugonia reimagines that story through Lanthimos' uniquely surreal and deadpan lens. While Save the Green Planet leans heavily into chaotic energy and emotional extremes, mixing slapstick humour with raw heartbreak, Bugonia takes a colder, more controlled approach. Lanthimos focuses less on explosive emotion and more on psychological tension, philosophical dialogue, and the absurd logic that drives belief systems. The Korean version balances social critique with genuine pathos for its damaged protagonist, while Bugonia sharpens the satire to expose power dynamics, class conflict, and the moral dissonance of modern life. The result feels more clinical and allegorical, a story less about one man's madness and more about the universal human urge to impose meaning on a senseless world. The director typically has quite an absurdist approach to his films, and he prioritizes themes and delving into the human mind over traditional storytelling. And Bugonia is definitely another one of those movies, with an impactful ending communicating its central ideas. I will be getting into that ending more towards the end of the video, but first let's get into the plot and break down exactly what happens. Coming to Lanthimos' new film, we get introduced to the cold precision of Michelle Fuller, a CEO of a vast biotech corporation called Oxalif. Her morning routine is immaculate, sterile, repetitive, and eerily calm. She's detached, powerful, and perhaps even inhuman. Through quiet shots of laboratories, data screens, and luxury surroundings, we get a sense of both control and moral decay. In stark contrast to this, we meet Teddy Gatz, a bearded and intense man living in a cluttered rural home surrounded by beehives. He's obsessive, muttering about patterns in nature and cosmic signals. His mother Sandy lies comatose after a failed drug trial run by Oxalif. Teddy's grief and paranoia blur together, and he believes that Michelle isn't just corrupt. He has become deeply convinced that Michelle is not just a wealthy pharmaceutical CEO, but actually an alien, specifically a member of a hidden invasive species called the Andromedans, and he believes this for several interconnected reasons. First, there's Teddy's personal trauma with his mother after receiving an experimental drug from Michelle's company. Second, Teddy's hobby as a beekeeper and his sense of ecological alarm, especially around colony collapse and chemicals, give him the mindset primed for seeing conspiracies in corporate behaviour. And thirdly, Teddy picks up what he interprets as anomalous clues. Michelle's high status and her company's deep reach, a pattern of suspicious drug trials, and behaviours that he takes to indicate that she might be an alien. and her extraordinary pain tolerance later on in the film after he puts her through electric shock treatment does also indicate that something is wrong. So in his mind, Michelle is the embodiment of an alien threat. An Andromedan who has infiltrated human society, is orchestrating harm on Earth, including to his mother and his bees, and someone who must be exposed or neutralized. Teddy also confides in his nervous cousin Don, who idolizes him but clearly is out of his depth. Teddy explains his mission to him and to us the audience, which is to save the planet by capturing Michelle and forcing her to admit that she's an alien. Don is reluctant but is easily persuaded by Teddy. So they prepare obsessively, studying Michelle's schedule, packing duct tape and anti-signal materials like aluminum foil and antihistamine cream. Their normal dialogue mixes conspiracy jargon with religious fervour, making it unclear if this is political extremism or just delusion. The two of them eventually break into Michelle's mansion, capturing her, binding her, and shaving her head. This is apparently Teddy's theory of stopping her from transmitting thoughts to her mothership. They transport Michelle to Teddy's basement, which he has transformed into a makeshift interrogation chamber, a shrine to his theories covered in notes about Andromeda, bees, and corporate logos. They also smear her skin with cream to apparently block her frequencies. The sequence blends horror and absurdity, and we're never sure if Teddy is completely crazy or is just perceptive. The majority of the film then takes place here in claustrophobic scenes of dialogue and shifting power. Teddy interrogates Michelle daily, demanding that she confess to being an alien. She refuses at first, mocking him, then begins to manipulate, probing his guilt, his trauma, and his mother's illness. Michelle's poise cracks only slightly, hinting that she may indeed be hiding something. She tells stories about evolution and extinction that sound too knowing, as if she's seen it firsthand. Don, caught between belief and empathy, also starts questioning Teddy's sanity. Michelle subtly plants seeds of division between the two cousins and has a fight with Teddy. She reminds Teddy of his failures, invoking his dead father and his mother's suffering. The emotional tension becomes unbearable for him, and through fragmented flashbacks, we see parts of Teddy's past too. We see the drug trial that left his mother comatose, his failed job, and his growing obsession with the idea that Earth was seeded by beings who now want to destroy it. We also see Michelle's side of things in flashbacks, including boardroom meetings where she coldly dismisses ethical concerns, but also moments of apparent remorse. These glimpses blur the moral line in that perhaps both captor and captive are products of a broken system. Anyway, after her fight with Teddy, she is eventually able to get Don alone for a few minutes so that she can convince him to let her go by asking what he truly believes. The Sheriff Casey character, who Teddy saw earlier on in the film, someone who apparently did something bad to him when he was younger, stops by Teddy's during his violent fight with Michelle. They get Michelle down to the basement in time, and Teddy ends up taking the sheriff over to the apiary to keep him away from what's been happening at the house. Don agrees to free Michelle, but in a moment of panic and betrayal, he shoots himself in the head with a shotgun that he'd been using to keep control of Michelle. The sheriff hears this over at the apiary, and Teddy kills him there to stop any suspicion. When Teddy gets back to the house, seeing Don dead devastates him, and he appears even more erratic. Michelle, now bloodied but still calculating, tells Teddy she can fix everything, that she has a cure in the antifreeze bottle in her car boot, and that it can cure his mother. She persuades him to go to the hospital and inject it into her, and with that, Teddy rushes off, performs the injection, and watches in horror as his mother dies from it. We get to the ending of Bugonia, and back at the house, Michelle escapes her restraints. She discovers hidden in the basement a room containing the remains of other people whom Teddy believed to be aliens and had abducted and killed. Teddy then returns, broken from his mother's death, and confronts her. To our surprise, she calmly admits what he's wanted all along, and that is that she is indeed an alien. She tells the haunting story about her species and how they accidentally destroyed the dinosaurs, seeded humanity, and watched as people became self-destructive parasites. She says that now it's time to end that experiment. She offers to take him to Andromeda, guiding him into a closet-like device at her business headquarters, one that hums with a strange light. Teddy, overjoyed and delirious, steps inside of it, and a bomb that he brought with him as a contingency plan detonates when he gets inside from overheating, and he dies instantly. Michelle is also thrown across the room and survives the explosion. We then come to the final sequence, and this shows that what Michelle said to Teddy at the end may have been true all along. She escapes the ambulance taking her away, runs back into the closet in her office, and the camera pulls back to reveal her aboard a colossal mothership, gazing down at the Earth. On board her ship, she touches a glass sphere, which is actually a miniature version of Earth, and the bubble pops. Instantly, we get a montage of global silence, cities are still, and people are frozen dead with everything essentially gone. Back on Teddy's farm, bees crawl from their hives, beginning to rebuild. So humanity is gone and nature apparently reclaims the planet. And the film ends without music, leaving us with only the hum of bees. So at its core, Bugonia is a dark fable about humanity's arrogance, self-destruction, and desperate search for purity. The film's symbols in bees, aliens, corporations, and rituals are woven together to show how our desire to control nature and define truth leads inevitably to decay. The bees represent the natural world's order and resilience, a collective harmony that humans have long disrupted. In contrast, Michelle's corporation embodies the sterile hive of modern civilization, efficient, profit-driven, and detached from life's organic chaos. Teddy's conspiracy is the mirror image of Michelle's corporate rationality, and I think both are forms of madness masquerading as meaning, showing how fanaticism and power can spring from the same root. The film's title Bugonia further refers to the ancient myth where bees are born from the carcass of a sacrificed bull. That myth becomes the movie's governing metaphor, how new life can only emerge through destruction. By the end, humanity, symbolized by both Michelle and Teddy, has consumed itself through greed, guilt, and delusion. Michelle's final act of annihilation isn't just vengeance or alien judgment, it's nature reclaiming balance after centuries of abuse. When the bees return to a silent Earth, it signals not hope for humanity, but the endurance of life itself. So thematically, it explores the collapse of boundaries between savior and destroyer, victim and villain, and belief and insanity. It suggests that our obsession with purity, whether scientific, spiritual, or ideological, is what corrupts us most deeply. The film leaves us with a haunting paradox in that only by dying out can humanity finally give the world back its peace. In that sense, Bugonia is both an ecological and philosophical warning, a story about the end of the human hive and the quiet rebirth of the natural one. But that was my breakdown and analysis for Bugonia. Like Lanthimos' other work, I thought Bugonia was yet another crazy ride, one that has thematical importance, but one that also has outstanding production work too. From the outset, director Yorgos Lanthimos plunges us into a world that is bizarre, darkly comedic, and unnervingly familiar in its critique of modern society. The performances are outstanding as Emma Stone brings range and vulnerability to the role of Michelle, and Jesse Plemons delivers one of his most compelling portrayals yet as Teddy Gatz. Their dynamic, which is part interrogation and part philosophical showdown, is a gripping engine for the film, and every exchange crackles with tension, ideology, and emotional undercurrent. I think Stone and Plemons are at the top of their game here, and I honestly expect them to be somewhat contenders for the acting awards this year. Visually and thematically, Bugonia is also a feast. The contrast between sterile corporate environments and the gritty basement layer of the cousins serves as a tangible metaphor for power, class, and alienation, and the film's bold choice to lean into absurdity without sacrificing real pain and grievance gives it a lot of depth. What I found most compelling is how the film dares to ask, in a world overloaded with conspiracies, data, and corporate spin, who really has the power? Who is alien and who is human? It doesn't hand you easy answers, which feels honest and unsettling. And even though I thought the pacing of it dips a little in the middle, with some scenes lingering a bit longer than necessary, the payoff is more than worth it. The final act grips you with urgency, the moral questions sharpen, and the blend of satire, horror, and thriller becomes a haunting call to reflect. So as a whole, Bugonia is a bold, provocative, and beautifully acted film. It may not be comfortable, but it is wholly compelling and refuses to let you off the hook. But I do hope this breakdown did help some of you guys understand the film and the main details a bit better, and overall, I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts on it, so don't forget to let me know down below in the comment section. For more videos on upcoming film releases like Bugonia, then subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications. Also, if you enjoyed this video, remember to leave a like rating and follow me on social media via the links in the description. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I've been Cortex, and as always, make some noise.